The Spring Champion Stakes for 1990 coming up. Only a handful of horses to move into the gates. A good field worthy of a mighty race, Ken.
It sure is, John, and here are the prices. Number 1, St Jude, 7-2 out to almost 4-1, $4.90. 4-1 Solid, the New Zealander, Lord Revener. 16 Bright Kite. I think What a Hit or Win. He's hot favourite at 2-1. That's probably all he's entitled to be. Trisette is a 20-1 chance. 40 Direco. Kaleo Star's been well backed into 9-1 now. 6.5-1 or 13-2 Stradmore. Dartmouth is one of the roughies at 66-1. Lord Encore is even longer at 100-1. Real Jade at 30. Fire Oak at 60. Seabid at 100. I've tipped What a Hit, but I expect tough opposition from Lord Revener, Bright Kite and Kaleo Star. To call the Champion Stakes of 1990, Johnny Tapp.
Thanks, Ken, and the last has moved in and they're all set. Lord Encore moves up to complete the line, and they're set now with the starter on his stand. The gates open, they're off and running, and Bright Kite won the start and bounced clear. Real Jade began tardily, and so did Trisette. Coming over fast from the outside, St Jude, and going with him is Lord Encore, and Lord Encore on the extreme outside takes over to lead St Jude, and Bright Kite followed by Fire Oak, Kaleo Star, and then Dartmouth, and a bit wide early is Stradmore. Seabid got into trouble early and has drifted back into the field, and then Direco. Kaleo Star racing erratically is throwing the head about as the pace slows up front. Further back is What a Hit, followed by Trisette, and Real Jade is back at the tail, and Lord Revan is running about 6th. To the back now, and Fire Oak goes to the front by a length and a half to Lord Encore, a length to Stradmore, St Jude 4th on the fence, a length away Bright Kite, and then Lord Revener on the inside of Kaleo Star, followed by Direco and Dartmouth together. A length and a quarter to What a Hit, 2 to Trisette, a length to Seabid, and a length away last is Real Jade as they go down the back towards the top turn at the 1100 mark, and Fire Oak led in the Champion Stakes, a bit more than a length to Lord Encore. Running third, St Jude in the box seat, and then Stradmore. Just behind those, Lord Revener, who wants to drop the bit. He's being heeled along now. At the head of the others, Kaleo Star on the outside, and in that bunch as they start to pack up is Direco, followed by What a Hit. Bright Kite got a check. He lost ground at that point, and then Dartmouth, followed by Trisette, and well back Seabid and Real Jade as they come to the 700 mark, and Fire Oak is joined again by Lord Encore. Stradmore's never been on the track. He's had a pretty hard run, but he's looming up to them 3 wide as they near the turn. Even wider, Kaleo Star, followed by St Jude. At the head of the others then, Lord Revener as they turn for home, and further back Bright Kite, and What a Hit is spotting them a start as they turn the corner. Over the rise, Fire Oak and Lord Encore, the 2 leaders, and they're clear. On the outside, Stradmore and Kaleo Star. St Jude is getting between them, and then Lord Revener, and right down the outside, What a Hit is winding up now. It's St Jude bursting through an opening to head Fire Oak. What a Hit and Kaleo Star can't pick up the leaders. St Jude is clear, getting close to home over Fire Oak. What a Hit can't do any better. St Jude wins the Champion Stakes, a long neck to Fire Oak. In third place, What a Hit, and then Kaleo Star, Lord Revener, Direco. Further back, Stradmore, followed by Trisette, Lord Encore, and then Dartmouth and Bright Kite, and well back Real Jade, and Seabid is last in the Spring Champion Stakes for 1990. St Jude. Brian York has been one of the most consistent performers in Australia and richly deserved today's win. Number 1, St Jude, $5.10 and $1.80, and what a copybook ride it was by Brian York. Second, Fire Oak, who ran a very big race at very big odds. A place dividend of $11, Fire Oak, and What a Hit third. Number 4, a place dividend of $1.30. Ken.
Yes, John, the query with St Jude was whether he could run the 2,000 metres. Well, he ran it a lot better than his rivals. Fire Oak led. B. Hibbert, the New Zealand jockey, had him in front. He gave a tremendous sight. But St Jude, as John said, well ridden by Brian York, got to him quickly, and they sprinted too quickly for the horses back in the pack. What a Hit, not disgraced. His chance will be in the Victoria Derby. He ran on strongly for third place. But it was a great Champion Stakes, or Spring Champion Stakes. There's the winner, St Jude. I don't think he left his rivals with any excuses. A Queensland victory, St Jude, trained by Bruce McLaughlin and ridden by Brian York. The first of our great races today on the wide world of sports.
The winning numbers were 1, 12 and 4. First, St Jude, $5.10 and $1.80. Second, number 12, Fire Oak at $11.90. Very healthy odds there. And third, the calendar fancied, number 4, What Hit, paid at $1.30. And Ken's tip for Sydney race 5 is number 3, Flying Luskin. In AFL...
Tappy, there's plenty of dollars up for grabs out there if you're good enough.
That's right, Max. You need plenty of endurance and plenty of patience and tolerance. You know, on another four-legged sports, I've got to mention that hardly a week goes by that someone doesn't ask the question, whatever happened to Kevin Newman? Now, if you're not familiar with that name, let me tell you that the harness racing sport has never produced a finer trainer driver, and back in the 1970s, his domination of the sport here in Sydney became absolute legend. He doesn't drive in races these days, but thankfully his training skills have not been lost to this great industry. That certain look on Kevin Newman's face these days is best described as contentment. At 57, he's as healthy as a cricket, still trains his beloved harness horses, and has the support of a devoted wife, 2 daughters, and 5 grandchildren. In fact, younger daughter Julie has inherited the harness racing bug and has already driven in a few races. Nowadays, Kevin channels all of his time and expertise into the preparation of the horses. That expertise has been developed over a period of 44 years, beginning with an after-school job in a Western Australian trotting stable. He was Australia's youngest licensed race driver at 16 and showed early signs of a rare affinity with horses. At the peak of his form, KB Newman became a role model for many of his contemporaries.
High praise is not enough for the man. He's just such a tremendous man in the game.
And as a race driver?
The best.
Probably one of the best ambassadors for the game we've had. Probably the greatest horseman we've had.
Oh, there was none better.
Kevin still holds a race driver's licence, but rarely uses it.
There's a time to say halt, I think, you know, and from my experience down through the years as well, those drivers that I most admired, and I don't have to name them, but people that I did admire as drivers and so forth, it was evident to me as they progressed down through the years, reflexes suffered.
For more than 30 years, Kevin Newman's reflexes were lightning fast. In that time, he won 1,500 races on all tracks and for a decade completely dominated the scene at Sydney's famous Harold Park. He won 8 drivers' premierships, 10 trainers' titles, and with 533 wins and 2 dead heats, still holds the Harold Park record. The 500-win milestone earned him a handsome trophy, the plaudits of the crowd, and a kiss from wife Beryl.
The spotlight didn't appeal all that much to me. What appealed to me was the challenge. And I'd programmed to be at some place on the premiership table at a certain time of the year and knowing what horses I had backing me up. And it was a challenge to just be the leading the premiership at the conclusion of a season. That was what appealed to me. I don't miss the fact that, you know, you had your photo in the paper in the morning or anything like that.
Here's Koala Frost challenging strongly as Newman gets to work with the reins.
Among the fabulous 500 were 3 of Kevin's favourites. The dashing Koala Frost, the brilliant Mitchell Victory,
But it's a very easy win and down to the line now. Mitchell Victory runs right away.
and the horse to get Kevin's vote as the best he ever drove, the amazing Halwes.
And the others are all out of the race. Halwes runs home an easy winner. He's beaten the light. It's just ahead of the light. It's close.
I think a lot of things go into making up a great horse. Speed, stamina, manners. He had all of that. He raced light, in fact. He raced a lot lighter than I would have liked to see him race, but he was such a tough horse. You could work him to excess and he could cop a hard run. His powers of recuperation were amazing.
During that golden era, Newman featured regularly in the sports pages, as Julie found out at school on one occasion.
We were just fooling around and I said, oh, Paul Newman's my uncle. And this fella said, oh, Paul Newman's your uncle. I said, yes, he really is. Paul Newman's my uncle. Oh, I suppose Kevin Newman's your father. And I had to laugh.
During your golden years as a reinsman, fairness to your fellow driver seemed to be paramount in your mind.
The cardinal sin, of course, of harness racing driving is to take a horse's front end, giving him, if the horse is against the fence, and he has no place to go, he can't avoid you. And he's going to run at the fence or you're going to bring him down. To me, there is no excuse for that.
Newman expects stand-in drivers like Wayne Innes to observe a simple rule.
I don't make tell people how to drive for me. I make recommendations as to how I think the race will be run, and they, of course, they're capable enough to know that, you know, there are certain things you don't do. If you're going to do that, you're going to be beaten.
as a trainer. Look at the winners he's had, John. One of the best we've ever seen. I hope there's some of the young fellas come along as good as he, because it'll do the game good.
It didn't matter where he positioned his horses. He's always, at some stage of the race, his horses had a chance of winning.
You know, he's had 2-year-olds, 3-4-olds a lot, so he's, you know, he's an all-round horseman, you know.
What is it about this animal that people just have a love affair with?
Well, it has been referred to, harness racing has been referred to as a disease, you know. Like, I mean, if you're bitten by the harness racing bug, you're an advocate of it till the day you die. You know, it must be the most resilient industry in the world, because it's had that many knocks and it just keeps bouncing back up again, and it never ceases to amaze me.
One of my favourite friends in the world of sport, the one and only Kevin Newman, and my advice to any aspiring young trainer driver in the world of harness racing, just get some of those old videotapes if you want to learn how to race drive, and go along to Blacktown Showground any morning and he'll show you how to train the standard bred as no other can do. He was an amazing man, Kenny Callender.
Was he what, John? A good fella. That's the best recommendation I can give him, and I hope Kevin's watching. I might even get back for trots myself if there was people of the quality of Kevin Newman driving today. Right, the Craven Plate coming up here next at Randwick, and the New Zealander Flying Luskin is all the rage, particularly on the tote. Here are the prices. Number 1 High Regard, 13-2 into about 6-1 now. Eastern Classic at 8-1. Flying Luskin, favourite, in a bit shorter, about 9-4, around about $3.20 for your dollar investment. Our Magic Man at 8-1 out to 9-1. Ronganui from New Zealand is a 25-1 chance. Mallee Boy, a little bit outgraded here. Last start winner at Wyong is at 20-1. Pabulum, TAB number 7, getting out to 14-1. Just Trish at 8-1. Sarah Fay, TAB number 9, is an 11-1 chance. Noble Paradise at 100-1. Greedy is at 100, should be about 1,000. Jewel Treasures at 25-1 into about 20-1, the good mare. And Tiaku Pearl, getting out a bit in the market, will make her 7-1 now. She's ridden by the pumper, Jimmy Cassidy. A great race. If Flying Luskin can reproduce his New Zealand form, he's the horse to beat. In New Zealand, he's won close to $500,000. And with their lower scale of prize money, that's probably like about $1.5 million in Australia, John.
That'll be about right, Ken. Thank you. And by gee, the mares are well represented in the Craven Plate this year. I was just looking in the book when Ken was talking about mares. We have 6 of them. Well, there's Flying Luskin. Even though he is owned and trained in New Zealand, he's by the former great Australian horse Luskin Star. He's out of Queen Amako, and old-timers, racing fans from an earlier day will well remember the half-brother to the dam of Flying Luskin, none other than the celebrated Tobin Bronze, winner of a Caulfield Cup with 9 stone 10 on his back, way back in 1967. What a horse he was. And just repeating, Tobin Bronze is a half-brother to the mother of number 3, Flying Luskin. So there's a fair bit of fashionable blood coursing through his veins. The rider is Peter Johnston, top New Zealand jock, and Flying Luskin has won 12 races with 9 placings from 37 starts in New Zealand. Now they've moved in quickly for the Craven Plate. There's Greedy moving up. Eastern Classic is in the stalls. Now Sarah Fay has moved into line with Tiaku Pearl. Just Trish and Noble Paradise are facing up. Our Magic Man. And Flying Luskin looks to be the only one we're waiting on. Those in the stalls are facing perfectly. Pabulum stands up well. Very big horse, Pabulum, or at least a very tall horse. He looks to tower over most of the opposition. Now Flying Luskin with 3 white feet. Flying Luskin into the stalls, and they're all set now and ready for the Craven Plate. Starter Bill Cooper about to pick up the button and release the field. Ronganui is in number 2 gate. Tiaku Pearl in 3. They're off in the Craven, and Tiaku Pearl began very tardily. She's a clear last out of the barrier. Mallee Boy began quickly and led early over Eastern Classic, and High Regard is pinged into the box seat, followed by Flying Luskin, our Magic Man prominent. Sarah Fay not too far away. Midfield on the fence, Dual Treasures on the inside of Greedy, followed by Noble Paradise, Ronganui, and then Just Trish and Tiaku Pearl, and dropping out 2 lengths last is Pabulum. To the back they run with about 1,500 to go, and Mallee Boy is the leader. leader. Sarah Fay momentarily 3 wide, being allowed to stride up closer to the lead. Flying Luskin in a perfect spot, 1 off the fence on the outside of High Regard. 2.5 Eastern Classic. A neck back as Dual Treasures. 2 to Ronganui on the inside of Our Magic Man. And then Tiako, Pearl and Greedy, followed by Noble Paradise, and further back Just Trish. And back at the tail is Pabulum as they make their way down the back and towards the top turn at the 1100 mark. Mally Boy is the leader in the Craven Plate. Sarah Fay second. High Regard getting a beautiful run third, followed by Flying Luskin, Dual Treasures. A length Eastern Classic, a length Ronganui, and then Our Magic Man, Tiako, Pearl, Noble Paradise, Just Trish and Greedy, and last Pabulum. Over the crossing at the 800 mark, Mally Boy the leader. Sarah Fay second. High Regard third, given the run of the race by Ken Russell. A bit more than a length to Flying Luskin on the outside of Dual Treasures, followed by Eastern Classic, Ronganui. They're starting to bunch up as they near the turn. Next is Our Magic Man. Tiako Pearl is awkwardly placed, followed by Just Trish, Noble Paradise, and a gap to Greedy and Pabulum as they turn the corner. Into the straight now, Mally Boy just led Sarah Fay. Flying Luskin taking off 3 deep. Eastern Classic 4 deep. High Regard is on the fence behind them with nowhere to go as they come over the rise, followed by Dual Treasures and Ronganui. On top of the hill, Mally Boy tackled by Flying Luskin. Eastern Classic joining in further out, Dual Treasures, and then High Regard. Flying Luskin and Dual Treasures have come away with the mare. Dual Treasures getting the upper hand, 100 out, and Dual Treasures hard ridden is drawing away from Flying Luskin. High Regard getting through on the fence. Just Trish down the outside, but Dual Treasures won the Craven. Tight for second, Just Trish or High Regard, and then Flying Luskin, Eastern Classic, and then Mally Boy, Ronganui, Pabulum, Sarah Fay, Our Magic Man. Well back Tiako, Pearl, Noble Paradise, and last is Greedy. Mind you, that mare Greedy, who'd been racing in the bush and, as Ken said, should have been at 1,000 to 1. She didn't really disgrace herself either. But Dual Treasures, by gee, it took this little mare a hell of a long while to win a race. She was a maiden for ages, but she's away now. Dual Treasures, Gavin Duffy. Dual Treasures to pay $21 and $4.80. Very close for the placings. Number 8, Just Trish, $2.90, or 1, High Regard, $2.30. Ken.
Yes, John, a great win by Dual Treasures, continuing the absolutely fabulous trot of young Graham Begg, who only a few months ago took over from his father Neville. And Dual Treasures, one of his charges, dashes past the New Zealand star Flying Luskin. He was a bit disappointing, Flying Luskin. He's second there and he hasn't run a place. Getting up inside him was High Regard, and right down the outside comes Just Trish. But no doubt about the winner, Dual Treasures. Possibly High Regard second and Just Trish third, but it's very, very close for second and third. The only one official at the moment is number 12, and there's just no doubt that she's won the money, and there she is, Dual Treasures. We'll have second and third for you down the line, and don't dare you turn the knob, because the next race coming up live on the Wide World of Sports is the 1990 Epsom Handicap.
First, Dual Treasures, $21.20 and $4.80. Second, number 8, Just Trish, $2.90. And third, number 1, High Regard, $2.30. And now a tip from Kenny Callender on race 6, the big one, the $400,000 Epsom Handicap. And Kenny likes number 2, Alquoz, with the jockey Darren Beedman. Also time to check on the first quarter score in the AFL preliminary.
And what a great idea is the Epsom Handicap. First run in 1865. There are 20 runners. An ounce of luck is worth a pound of judgment. And I know one bloke who hopes Alquoz gets plenty of luck.
That's exactly right, John. I've just about got time to rush through these prices. Let's have a look at them. Number 1, Superimposed, 3's out to 13 to 4, about $4.30 for a $1 investment. Alquoz, I've got my cash on him, as John told you. He's a 10 to 1 chance. Shaftesbury Avenue at 5 to 1. Go Bush, one of the New Zealanders, at 16 to 1. Liverstone Lane, well in commission at 8 to 1. Don't Play out to 25 to 1. Hunter at 20s. Cassam, Mick Dittman's mount, TAB number 8, is at 9 to 1. Comrade 30 to 1. 60 Happy Sailing. 60 Our Grey Invader. 33 Arc Regal. 20 to 1 Our Poverty Bay. 14 Chevelle Cavalier. By geez, that's big odds. 80 to 1 Paul Andick. 30 to 1 Prince Salieri. 33 to 1 Ricochet Rosie. 100 to 1 Notorious Steed. 16 Remember Peter. And 200 to 1 Fairy Dreams. The reserves never got a run. Here's Johnny for the Epsom.
Good, Ken. 20 runners, and the last couple are about to go up. In fact, there's only one to move in now. Arc Regal in very conspicuous cerise and Blue Diamonds, one of the New Zealand gallopers, and ridden by Gavin Duffy, who won the previous race on Dual Treasures. And he also won the 2-year-old race here last Saturday on Volts, the Breeders' Plate. So it's been a good spring carnival so far for the Duff. Now, Go Bush, yet another one of the NZers, is in the stalls and facing up well. Now, Ark Regal with Gavin Duffy on board is being led forward towards the outside of the field. And the starter, Bill Cooper, looks at his watch. Pardon me. Picks up the button and they're about set and ready for the Epsom. The stalls fly open and they're off and running. And Don't Play wide out is about the first out. Paul Landick and Liverstone Lane began well, and so did Ricochet Rosie. Shaftesbury Avenue was away like a flash. Go Bush is handy soon after the start, and then Ark Regal, Our Poverty Bay, Comrade, followed by Cheval Cavalier, Alquoz midfield and about 3 deep. Behind those, Notorious Deed, Happy Sailing very wide, and then Kessam Hunter well back with Fairy Dreams, Remember Peter. Superimposed third last, Prince Salieri second last, dropping out to last now, and getting past him is Our Grey Invader. In the run to the first turn, and Liverstone Lane goes to the lead. In second place, Ark Regal, Ricochet Rosie third, Don't Play a bit deep, and Shaftesbury Avenue in a beautiful spot, 1 horse off the rail. A length and a half to Comrade, Go Bush on the fence, and then Paul Landick, Cheval Cavalier, Our Poverty Bay, Happy Sailing, Notorious Deed. Alquoz a little bit worse than midfield, back with him Fairy Dreams, followed by Kessam. Superimpose in front of about 4 as they near the turn, and they include Hunter, Remember Peter, Our Grey Invader and Prince Salieri. They're packing up at the 600 mark, and Liverstone Lane is being pressured now by Ark Regal. Don't Play makes a line of 3. Right around the outside, Paul Landick, and then Comrade, followed by Ricochet Rosie. Shaftesbury Avenue waiting for a run as they come over the rise, and further back, Go Bush. Our Poverty Bay is coming out of the pack and superimposed down the outside. Many chances at the 200. Liverstone Lane, Don't Play, Comrade. Our Poverty Bay is joining in, and his Paul Landick and superimposed right down the extreme outside. Is he going to win another big Randwick mile? Superimpose, a super horse. What a horse. Superimpose beat Our Poverty Bay in the Epsom. Ricochet Rosie third, and then Paul Landick, Don't Play, Comrade, Liverstone Lane. At the head of the others, Cheval Cavalier, Shaftesbury Avenue disappointing in the run home. And then Kessam, Fairy Dreams, Happy Sailing, Remember Peter. Well back, Notorious Deed, Our Grey Invader. Hunter never got in the race. And then Go Bush and Prince Salieri and Alquoz, racing below his best form, is last to finish in the Epsom of 1990. Well, ladies and gentlemen, when this fellow comes back to scale, I think we're all entitled to put our hands together for one of the great post-war horses, capable of running second in the last Melbourne Cup, and he's won the Doncaster and the Epsom in the same year. What a horse. Superimpose, $4.40 and $2.10. Second, Our Poverty Bay. Our Poverty Bay will get second. That's number 13, a place dividend of $6.90, and third, Ricochet Rosie has run a big race for third, and she'll pay a place dividend of $8.40. Ken, I've run out of superlatives.
Yes, John, you can't say much more about him. Runner-up in the Melbourne Cup and won a Doncaster and the Epsom in the same year. Here he is, the widest horse on the track. Look at him sweep up to them. Our Poverty Bay in the blue and yellow looked as though he was going to swamp them. And the little grey mare getting through near the rails was Ricochet Rosie. They're only the place getters. The winner was Superimpose, and an absolutely brilliant performance. He come from last to win the Doncaster and almost last to win the Epsom. And there's Darren Gouchy. Doesn't smile a lot, but I'm sure the Gouch will give a big smile as he comes back to scale on the Lee Friedman trained Superimpose, a super winner of the 1990 Epsom Handicap, brought to you live on the wide world of sports.
Epsom Handicap over the mile. The winners were 1, 13 and 17, and what a fantastic win it was to Superimpose, paying $4.40 and $2.10. Second, number 13, Our Poverty Bay, $6.90. And third, number 17, Ricochet Rosie, at $8.40. And Kenny Callender's tip for Sydney Race 7 is number 3, Whisked, with Gavin Duffy up. And it'd really better win, Max, otherwise we might have to pass the hat around.
All right, time now to join Johnny Tapp for our last race at Randwick. Tappy?
Good, Ken. The race is called the Flight Stakes and is named after one of the great race mares of the Australian turf. She was purchased by the late Sir Brian Crowley, a former chairman of the Australian Jockey Club. I can't remember the exact purchase figure, but it was a paltry sum back in the early 40s, and neither Sir Brian nor any of his friends envisaged the success that would come her way in subsequent years. She won the Cox Plate twice. She won the McKinnon Stakes, a Craven Plate, and goodness knows what else. A great little mare, Flight. This race is named in her honour, and even though there are one or two handy ones engaged, Ken, there are no flights.
No, but it's been a super day's racing here with the Champion Stakes St Jude, with this absolutely fabulous win of Superimpose in the Epsom Handicap. But I'm a funny fellow. I enjoy racing more when I win, and that's the problem here at the moment. But I've got my money on Whisked. The bookies think it's a dead set match between Whisked and Triscay from the Jack Denham stables. It's nearly like a game of two up, a toss of a coin. I've tossed and come up with Whisked. Here are the prices. Number 1, Triscay, obviously the main danger. 10 to 9, she might just get out to about 5 to 4 in a moment, I'd say. Bavaria from Melbourne is at 12 to 1 in from 14s. Whist 7 to 4, I think we better plummet that into about 6 to 4, and that's a pretty fair price, believe me. All Mine at 25 to 1 now, number 4. Suggested it's at 25 to 1. Point Noir, I think that's close enough to the pronunciation, is getting out to 30 to 1. Millie's Luck, TAB number 7, is at 16 to 1 now. Fisem's Folly number 8 is at 20 to 1 chance. Seasoning at 50 to 1. Narration is at 25 to 1. 200 to 1 now, Highlights. And 200 to 1 also Regal. Looking at the favourites again, still 210 Triscay. I thought she'd get out a little bit, and at 6 to 4, about $2.50 or $2.60 for Whist. Give her strength. Here's Johnny.
Good luck, Keno. Whist carries colours that for people watching at home will stand out very conspicuously. An all-red jacket and a white cap. Gee, they're great colours. The colours of the Tate family from Jugiong in southern New South Wales, and colours that have been in the winner's circle in big races on Sydney tracks many, many times. So watch for them. Red with a white cap. Starter coming over now to pick up the button. They're all set and ready for the Flight Stakes, and away they go. Good start, and towards the outside, one of the first out, Highlights. Wished jumped away smartly, and so did Triscay. Millie's Luck getting into a prominent spot, followed by All Mine, and trapped out deep early as Burberry. At the head of the others, Seasoning, followed by Narration, and well back early came Fisam's Folly. Regal has dropped out to be last in the run to the first turn, and Painoir in front of a couple. Now Highlights is in front at a pretty good gallop in the run to the first turn. Moving to second is Triscay. In fact, she's going up to join the leader now, and Wished is getting the run of the race on the inside of Burberry, followed by All Mine and Suggested. A bit more than a length to Millie's Luck on the inside of Narration, who got into a spot of bother at that point to miss the heels of one in front, and then Suggested, Fisam's Folly and Painoir, and back at the tail is Regal to the 800 mark, and they're going quickly. Highlights led, Triscay second, Burberry third, All Mine is fourth, and Wished might have lost a little ground at that point. She's back fifth and being ridden a bit now. A length and a half further back, Millie's Luck, followed by Suggested. Out deep is Narration, and then Seasoning and Fisam's Folly. Painoir second last, and Regal is tailed off as they turn the corner. Highlights led over Triscay into the straight, All Mine third, and then Burberry. Wished in between horses, running on pretty well, but under a lot of pressure, followed by Millie's Luck and Narration. On top of the rise now, and Triscay has dashed to the lead from Burberry on the outside. Wished in third place is starting to warm up now. He's pulled the whip on Triscay. Burberry cutting her down quickly. His Seasoning, and late on the scene is Narration. But Triscay, Dittman hard at work. She's fighting back. She's got a great big heart. And right on the line, Triscay was holding them safely to beat Burberry. Now Seasoning will probably get third wide out in front of Narration and All Mine, and then Wished and Fisam's Folly. At the head of the others, Millie's Luck. Highlights weakened out of it. Well back in the field, Suggested, and Painoir, and last is Regal. Well, she looked beaten 4 times, Triscay, but under vigorous riding, she kept pulling out a little bit extra, and right on the line was holding them safely. She's a very classy filly. Triscay, 220 and 120. She's got a heart as big as herself. Burberry, number 2, D. Gauchi, to pay $3. And 9 third, more than likely, a Seasoning on the outside, a place dividend of $8.20. By G. Ken, she's got a heart.
She certainly has, John. I don't know what happened to Wished. She beat Triscay easily last start. Triscay showed a lot of courage, but I still thought she was a little disappointing in winning when you consider how close a filly like Seasoning was. Let's pick them up here. In front, that's Triscay, holding off Burberry. Seasoning down the outside, snares third spot. And really, she's only just won a minor midweek race at Canterbury at her last start. So I just think there's a hole in that form somewhere. But if you back Triscay, there's not a hole in your pocket. There's cash in it because she's returned $2.20. And there she is now returning as the winner of this great Group 1 race ridden by Mick Dittman. John, a good filly, as you say.
Thanks, Ken. Numbers are 1, 2, 9 official. I just can't get over the sort of money good horses can earn these days in Australia. Listen to this. 13 starts for 9 wins now, Triscay. She'd won $535,000 before today. Add another $170,000. Not that far short of $750,000 in 13 race starts. So if you strike it lucky as a racehorse owner in Australia today, you've really struck it lucky. Well, I hope you backed plenty of winners. We look forward to your company from next Saturday's Metropolitan Race Meeting in Sydney. And right now, we take this important break on Wide World of Sports.